Do I look okay? Have I triple checked my camera is straight this time? Because it wasn't last week. Am I going to get through filming without breaking into a sweat, even though it's hotter than an oven in here? Thanks, summer in Australia. Insecurity can make us second guess ourselves more than we might care to admit. So today I'm sharing 5 ways you can beat insecurity and improve your self-belief. I'm Jeremy Godwin and this is Better Mental Health. If you're new here, hi. I had a total breakdown in 2011, followed by a few years of severe depression and anxiety, and now I share practical advice based on quality research and my own personal experience. So today I'm talking about insecurity, and this might sound a bit random, but first let's talk about where you get your motivation from, because I can sit here and give you 1,000 different ways to tackle insecurity, but unless we confront this question, it's probably going to be a waste of time. So what motivates you more? Is it what you think of yourself or what other people think of you? And be honest. For most of us, it's a combination of both internal and external factors, but the difference between self-confidence and insecurity is whether or not you put more importance on what other people think. Because the more you worry about what other people think, the harder it is to feel secure in yourself. My view is pretty simple on this. If you do no harm, are kind, and give more than you take, then who cares what other people think? Here's the thing you need to know. Nobody is perfect, and most opinions are just noise. You're never going to please everybody all of the time, and if you let the opinions of others control what you do or don't do, then you'll never try new things and you'll never grow. You're more likely to feel secure and confident by building your intrinsic motivation. In other words, being motivated by your own internal drive for success or sense of purpose, rather than by worrying about what other people think. So with all of that in mind, there are 5 main steps involved in beating insecurity and building greater confidence. And they are confront, process, release, substitute, and daily effort. So let's start with confront. I'm a big believer in dealing with things as they are rather than just sticking our head in the sand or pretending that things are fine when they're clearly not. If you're bothered by something, that's a sign from yourself that there's some work to be done, even if that work just involves acknowledging the existence of the insecure feeling. Trying to hide from your feelings is just resisting the inevitable. And if you've ever watched Star Trek, then you'll know that resistance is futile. Although I'm not sure that quoting the Borg to try and inspire and motivate people is what was intended, but hey, who cares? I'm going to run with it. You can run, but you cannot hide. So the thing is that you need to confront the truth. If you're prone to negative self-talk, you owe it to yourself to confront it and do something about it. To paraphrase the words of the late author Louise Hay, if you've been criticizing yourself for years and that hasn't worked, try approving of yourself and see what happens. Let that thought sink in for just a minute. So the next step is process. In other words, process what you're feeling and understand why your insecurities have been triggered. Now, that could be something that you do on your own, or it could be done by working with a counselor or therapist, or it could be a combination of both. It's important to get help when you need it, especially for serious trauma. And it's also important to do work on yourself, because someone external can help you to process things objectively and rationally. However, they can't get into your head and make all the dots connect for you. A great tool to help you is reflection, and that's something I talked about in this video, so I'll link it in the description below. The main thing is to take the time to get to the heart of why you might be feeling insecure, because that's the knowledge that you need to take the next step, which is release. In order to overcome the insecure feelings, you need to let go of them. Letting go can be really tough. As I said back in episode 32 of my podcast, letting go is more about you than anyone else. It's a choice that you make to take back your power by understanding the impact of whatever has happened, accepting it, learning from it, and making changes where you need to, and then letting it go so that whatever it was no longer holds any power over you. You owe it to yourself to release the past. It is done and it cannot be changed. And if you let it control you here and now, then all it will do is help you feel more insecure, and it will take away from your happiness today. Let it go. So, once you've worked through releasing, it's time for step 4, substitute. This is about choosing to be aware of when insecurity is niggling at you, and instead of giving into it, replacing it with acceptance and positive thoughts. What I mean here is accepting that the thought is happening and just observing it mindfully, instead of giving into it or trying to fight it, because thoughts are not facts. What this does is that over time, it reminds you to start detaching yourself from the emotions that are attached to that feeling so that you can then approach it in a much more rational and objective way. And part of that also involves replacing those negative thoughts with more positive ones. So for example, if your insecurity kicks in around something that you feel badly about, stop yourself and notice that the thought is happening, and then remind yourself of the positives instead. Because I can pretty much guarantee that you're actually quite wonderful, even if those negative thoughts are trying to tell you otherwise. So the 5th and final step is daily effort. And I say final, but I think it's probably pretty clear by now that there's never really a final step with this type of work. When it comes to improving your mental health and well-being, it takes continued work every single day. There's no magical cure, and you very well might be working on this stuff for the rest of your life, and that's totally okay. Accepting ourselves takes time and patience. And yes, there might be setbacks along the way, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that you keep on letting go and moving forward. So keep going and put in the effort every single day. There are lots of things that you can do daily to defeat your insecurities and build your self-confidence, like gratitude practice, mindfulness, meditation, and positive affirmations, or whatever works best for you. Now, part of that might also involve getting regular support, for example, by seeing a professional every couple of weeks, to work through things in more detail and explore different coping mechanisms that work for you. The most important thing is to just keep moving forward every single day. It doesn't matter how small the steps are. All progress is progress, and your self-esteem and sense of security in yourself will build a little each day. And speaking of making progress and self-esteem, that's a topic I cover in this video, where I talk about 5 ways to improve your self-esteem. And you'll find even more advice on managing your well-being in my weekly podcast, Let's Talk About Mental Health. It's linked in the description below. Thanks so much for joining me today. Take care and talk to you next time.